만약 네가 정말 내 손에 죽는다면 하지만 넌 강한 적들도 잔뜩 해치웠으니까 널 쉽게 너 스스로가 그렇게 되길 선택하지 않는 한 말이야. 그래도 그런 건 중요하지 않아. 난 네 생각, 네 잠재력도 야심도 그래도 역시 제일 좋아하는 건 이런 말을 할 때 날 보는 네 눈빛이려나? 언젠가 이 세상에서 널 훔쳐서 아무도 찾을 수 없는 곳으로 도망갈 거야.
돌아왔네요. 준비 단단히 했죠? 이제 결전의 시간이에요. 나쁜 대마왕에게 도전!
이 임무도 이제 끝을 내야 돼.
도움이 될 수만 있다면 저도 최선을 다할게요.
이번 대국을 끝낼 시간이네요.
너랑 같이 춤추는 게임이라니. 더는 못 참겠어. 우리의 슬로건은 무무물류 반드시 임무 완수. 그게 아니라니까요. 세상을 구한다.
아저씨をどれだけ待たせる気？で、どこで遊んでたわけ？ 이건 나와 이 세상의 연결고리이자 내가 겪은 모든 것의 증명이야.
마음의 영역에는 수많은 문이 있지만 솔라리스의 크기에 비하면 여전히 너무 작습니다. 수많은 사람들의 수많은 꿈, 그리고 수많은 추억들. 그 모든 것들을 저장하려면 더 큰 공간이 필요해요. 당신은 절 막을 수 없습니다.
내게 맡겨줘.
당신들 꿈의 의미에 대해 아무것도 모릅니다.
찬양의 울림. 괜찮아. 침착하게. 한 번 더. 멋지. 자. 내가 곧 길이다. 날개.
마음껏 친구 괴롭히지 마.
이제 끝낼 시간이야. 악몽이 부서져라. 도망치려고? 모두의 생각이 이 힘을 통해 느껴져. 기회를 잘 잡아야 해.
꼭 여기에 남겨줘야 영원할 수 있습니다.
내가 곧 길이다. 괜찮아. 하늘 날개. 끝났다. 함께 들어가시죠. 내가 곧 길이다. 함께 들어가시죠. 만연하는 불길. 새로운 영감. 하늘 날개. 피날레 꿈을 관통하라. 소리를 잃지. 봄 찬양의 울림. 그림자의 인도. 하늘 날개. 기회를 잘 잡아야 해. 내게 맡겨줘. 소리를 잃지. 솜 찬양의 울림. 뒤틀린 파멸. 소리를 잃지. 내가 곧 길이다. 다시 태어나. 한 번 더. 괜찮아. 침착하게. 하늘 날개. 몸부림쳐봐. 더 즐겁게 해줘. 기회를 찾은 내가 곧 길이다. 흰방 끝에 밝은 낮이 오리라. 어둠의 강림. 송 찬양의 울림. 한 번 더. 내가 곧 길이다. 헤이, 도망치려고? 헷.
거기에서 다시 태어나. 좀 천이.
되돌려라. 거침없이.
거짓말쟁이는 동백의 자양분으로 사라져. 하지마. 혼쭐내줘.
하늘 날개. 흰방 끝에 밝은 낮이 오리라. 비틀레 파멸. 송 찬양의 울림. 그대의 이동. 내가 곧 길이다. 소리를 들어있지.
어리석군. 수고인 것을.
We are breaking this down. We are going to give you everything right now. Let's get right into this. So, the contents article is based on prior play on trial server. Please note that the contents may differ from the time of implementation. What they're saying is this is confirmed to be accurate and that there is no way this could ever change. And the information I'm providing you is 100% correct, right? So here, hold on. I'll actually change the title. Discussing new Sonata sets. Bam. Okay. Dope. All right, let's get into this. So, get ahead of the information. With the permission of the official Narushio company, I'm so happy that guy on Twitter gave them permission, by the way, boys.
이게 다 꿈이었다면, 좀 아쉽긴 하지만 여기서 한 말은 꿈에서 깨어난 다음에도 서로한테 말해줄 거예요. 우린 항상 좋은 친구가 될 거라고요. 방랑자도 저랑 현실 방랑자도 제 좋은 친구. 그럼 현실 세계에서
방랑자, 당신에게 꿈이란 무엇인가요? 그동안 전 관찰을 통해 제가 꿈속에 있다는 것을 깨 기억을 잃은 당신이 내 잘 추론해 나간다면 당신 하지만 단지 제 앞에
또 떠날 거야? 내 생각에는 걔 생각해봐. 여기서라면 단 둘이서 끝. 안 깨어나면 그만이지. 깨어나지 않는 한 꿈도 현실과 다를 바 없잖아? 알았어. 그래도 현실에 넌 날 더 많이 놀라게 해줄 거지? 그것도
그렇게 해서 급한 불은 껐네요. 잠시 마음의 영역에 대해
잠깐. 택배원은
약속한 시간이 다 됐는데 제 귀...
끝나... 어쨌든 이 번거로운 주문도 해결이네요. 어? 뭔가... 구체적으로 어떤 건데요? 글쎄요...
흰 고양이 말이 맞는 것 같아. 나 말고
맞다! 제가 기쁜 소식 하나 알려드릴까요? 어젯밤에 드디어 꿈을 꿨어요. 저도 기억은 저희 팀원들도 비슷한 꿈을 꿨던 것 같은데 혹시 꿈속에서 제가 모두와 좋은 친구가 된 거 아닐까요? 에이, 그 정도까지는 사장님이 들으시면 팀장은커녕 자창시킬지도 몰라요. 이번에는 정말 감사했어요. 만약 제 고향인 월주에 들르신다면 꼭 마을 특산품을 대접해드릴게요.
무무무유 반드시 임무 완수. 무무무유 반드시.
우와, 이제 진짜 배송 가야겠네. 나머지는 다음에 얘기해요. 그럼 빠이빠이.
내부에서 전술을 세웠으니 문제없.
자, 멀리 멀리 보자고요.
나랑 아름다워. 사냥감의 냄새. 정지. 육성. 아름다워. 사냥감의 냄새. 놀아볼까? 어딜 가려고? 춤을 더 춰야지. 아!
누가 세상 속의 새
그대로 꿈속에서 시들어. 고통, 정의. 아름다운 몸부림쳐봐. 더 즐겁게 해줘. 거짓말쟁이는 동백의 자양분으로 사라져.
주작의 심판
찍찍아! 혼쭐해줘. 문을 닫아버릴 거야. 동백! 어딜 가려고? 춤을 더 춰야지. 놀아볼까? 몸부림쳐봐. 더 즐겁게 해줘. 생기 흡수.
만연하는
내 냄새.
Shout out to Narushio on Twitter.
Aurélia, très bonne nuit. Merci encore d'être passé, mon cher cadet.
같이 모험놀이 할래? 같이 모험놀이 할래?
나가고 싶어.
만연하는 불길. 찍찍아, 혼쭐내죠. 반드시 임무 완수. 다 같이 돌격해. 찍찍아, 일어나. 안돼. 찍찍아, 길을 열어줘. 어딜 가려고? 춤을 더 춰야지. 시작의 신호. 찍찍아, 상자 지켜. 여자는 진학이에요. 이건 어때? 찍찍아, 일어나. 찍찍아, 길을 열어줘. 거짓말쟁이는 동백의 자양분으로 사라져. 누가 세상 속에 출동! 찍찍아! 혼쭐내죠! 반드시 임무 완수! 이건 어때? 찍찍아! 상자 지켜! 여자는 지각이에요. 찍찍아, 길을 열어줘. 이건 어때? 망가진다고! 찍찍아, 일어나! 찍찍아, 상자 지켜! 몸부림쳐봐. 더 즐겁게 해줘! 만연하는 불길! 반드시 임무 완수! 신성한 칼날!
So in Dead by Daylight, each killer gets 2 add-on slots, and you can fill this with different add-ons that change the properties and abilities of your killer. This can be anything from slight increases of speed to actually new effects altogether. It's a really fun and simple system, and it's pretty easy to balance and understand because there's only 2 slots, right? There's not that much going on. Even beginners can understand it pretty quickly. But the question is, what if killers had 20 add-on slots and they were forced to use all of their add-ons at once? This is a question that someone asked in my chat, and almost immediately I realized it was a really good question. I spent quite a bit of time thinking about it, and I decided to make an entire video about the subject, which is what we're going to watch right now. For the next hour, I am going to rate the killers on a theoretical scenario where they're all forced to use their add-ons, like it was some kind of like new game mode. And as you will see, some of them become really, really good, and some other ones become somehow worse. And that's some really funny interactions. We're going to go one by one, starting with the absolute worst. All right, so unsurprisingly, if all killers were forced to use all 20 of their add-ons, the worst out of the bunch would probably be Myers. Now, the thing about Myers is that he has some amazing add-ons, like the Tombstone Piece that lets you instantly kill someone, but they have really bad synergy with each other. Obviously, extending the duration of tier 3 doesn't matter if you already have infinite tier 3, right? It would just take a long time to get there. It would be terrible. And the worst part is that you wouldn't even get to tier 3 because of the Scratch Mirror. The Scratch Mirror locks you into tier 1. It doesn't matter what other add-ons you have, it will never let you go past tier 1. So Myers would literally be locked in tier 1. Yeah, he would have a slightly bigger launch. Yeah, he would be able to stalk pretty fast and move pretty fast. But in most maps, he would be pretty bad. If you get an indoor map like the Lares, that could work out okay, but in most maps he would be a bit of a joke, and once survivors figure out that it's a Myers, they would play it very, very slowly, and in many loops you literally will never catch up. You would need to dedicate a whole build to play around your weaknesses in this mode. Now, the second worst killer, probably we're looking at the Skull Merchant. The Skull Merchant has obviously a lot of weaknesses already, as we discussed in the tier list. She is one of the weakest killers in the game. She got massively nerfed, but in this modality, she also suffers from a really crippling combination. So she has the low power mode, which is an add-on that makes your scanline static. That is pretty bad, but I mean, at least you can aim it at a window or a doorway, right? But when you combine this add-on with the prototype rotor, you actually get very slowly moving scan lines. So they're basically really bad at catching survivors in movement, and they're also really bad at protecting one thing. So you get the worst of both worlds. Because you will have such a hard time hitting survivors with this, you basically have nothing. You basically have nothing. The only thing you have is a little bit of stealth at the start, and some side effects. Basically, you're like a mediocre stealth M1 killer with almost nothing else going on for her. A really, really sad killer. Next up is Clown. Now, let me tell you, Clown would actually be really, really, really nice if, and only if, we got rid of the redhead Pinky Finger. If this add-on didn't exist, Clown would actually be really, really fun. He would have a lot of utility from each bottle. The bottles would make survivors much slower, make you much faster. You'd have auto hitting. It would be pretty insane, actually. But unfortunately, yeah, this kind of messes with everything. This add-on forces you to have only one bottle. So any combination of yellow and purple bottle, it's completely gone. You really cannot strategize. This is a killer that if survivors are caught in the open, he can sometimes insta-down. But let's be honest, survivors have a lot of ways to avoid this. And it's not like you can camp people very effectively with the current anti-camp mechanics. So basically, the Clown would become a one-trick pony once survivors learn to play around this. He would literally be a joke and not the funny kind. He would be really, really bad just because he has one single bottle. If this didn't exist, then he could actually be pretty good. Next up is Billy, and let me tell you, this is another killer that if you remove a couple add-ons, he would be pretty insane. Being able to have a lot of turning, ability to damage people when they drop pallets, faster this, faster that, like all of this would be really, really good together. But then we get to the last 3 add-ons. With the Turn Carburetor, you would be forced to be a 110 killer, which can be a bit rough sometimes, but more importantly, with the crack primer both, you don't insta down. This is like the speed limiter. You don't insta down. And almost worse, with the counterweight, you don't have the curbing. So basically, you have a killer that, yes, has a chance of farmability, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, okay, he has some built-in stealth as well, which in some maps can be okay, right? But that's pretty much it. In chase, he cannot insta down. In chase, he cannot curve around objects. And if you have to M1 people, you are 110. That would be such a massive downgrade to Billy. Yeah, I think normal Billy with just 2 or 3 add-ons would be, or no add-ons would probably be better than this. So this is really, really sad. Next up is Sadako, another example of a killer that would be really, really nice, except for one add-on, right? Her Evanescent videotape makes her not apply condemn. And that kills this character. Yeah, she can teleport really, really quickly. And yeah, she will have this and all of these other things that allow you to teleport and have like fast speed and information. All of that is really nice. She would be a stealth killer with a lot of mobility, but that's it. That's it. All of the add-ons that do things related to condemn, they would never come into play. And survivors could quite literally just turn out the tape basically every now and then, or just ignore it completely. They would have so many ways to defeat you that, yeah, condemn is what really makes good Sadakos apply a lot of pressure to teams of any level. So yeah, losing the ability to condemn is just too much. Any other add-on, just not to mention that she has a lot of mediocre add-ons that don't do a lot. Yeah, Sadako would really not get too much from this. Now Hag, oh man, Hag just sucks. Hag just sucks. She would be so interesting, right? You would be forced to teleport with the min rack and stuff. But yeah, Hag also gets destroyed by her meme add-on. With the waterlogged shoe, you do not have the ability to teleport the traps, and this overwrites almost half of her add-ons. So yeah, you could put traps down that body block survivors. They would stay up a long time with the turtle egg and whatnot. But you know, it doesn't really matter. Your teleporting distance doesn't matter. The slowdown that you apply doesn't matter. The fact that you would have a smaller range doesn't really matter. All of these things just don't matter. She would basically be like a normal body blocker Hag that moves a little bit faster. It would honestly be, she'd be like basically like an M1 killer that's a little bit faster and has a smaller turret radius, but she would be incredibly easy compared to the other killers that we're gonna see. So yeah, she really wouldn't get much out of this. Freddy is honestly a little bit sad, right? So first of all, keep in mind that many of these add-ons don't really stack. For example, here we have an add-on that makes the slowdown from your snares much worse, but it doesn't matter because your snares are going away. We have 1, 2, and 3 add-ons that give you pallets instead of snares, and all of these add-ons, they don't stack together. They basically just, you have 1, you have 3, it doesn't make much of a difference. So basically, you're gonna be forced to have not snares, which are better, but fake pallets. And that's gonna suck. Yeah, every survivor starts out asleep, and yeah, survivors don't wake up if they miss skill check. One of the best parts about this is that if you have the 3 add-ons, this, and this, together, every time they miss a skill check, they lose like an extra 12% progress. So a skill check build with this could be okay. It's just that Freddy doesn't have a lot of ways to make skill checks really, really good. Yeah, you would also have the add-on that blocks survivors in the end game if they open a gate and they're asleep. That sounds nice, but keep in mind that in this theoretical game where survivors would learn to play around this, so it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. And so many of these add-ons are so average. The blindness add-ons do not stack together, so they're not that insane. And keep in mind that the class photo will literally mean that you can never fake a teleport. Every time you teleport, it will have to be real, so that's not super good. Yeah, overall Freddy doesn't get much. He's at most it's just a minor upgrade, and even that is debatable. Legion. Now Legion sounds like a killer that would get a lot of things, right? But he's ultimately gonna be held back by a couple really unfortunate things. Now, the ability to break pallets, awesome. The ability to go for longer, awesome. The information on all gens, that seems pretty good. A little bit more delayed, that's nice. A couple add-ons to be sneaky and catch survivors off guard, have more info, that's awesome. But then we get to the Never Sleep pills. The Never Sleep pills make you really slow when you hit a survivor. And yeah, in a smaller map, survivors would learn to... even if they were smart, you might be able to outdistance them and whatnot. But let me just tell you, this would just be really bad. If Legion had all of these add-ons together, it's a lot harder to use some of these when he's so slow. But let's just assume that survivors understand how the new 20 add-on Legion plays. They would immediately learn to outplay this. All they need to do with this is to make you vault a window or a pallet, and then they blind you and you lose your power. Another thing they can do is literally run in front of you and body block you before you reach a teammate. Let's say a teammate is in shack and someone that you've already hit runs in front of you, and then you can't really do anything. Either you cancel power or you hit them and you lose your power. It really isn't that incredible. We have a lot of add-ons here that really don't do a lot. And even though this add-on is, you know, relatively rare and the average survivor doesn't really know how to play around this, if this add-on was enforced on every Legion, let me just assure you, this would be something that survivors will learn to play around. So yeah, this would probably kill it. That being said, if you are just happier and not too ambitious by just hitting a survivor or two, the other utility would be okay. So I think Legion is a little bit screwed, but they would still be playable for sure. Next we have Bubba, and Bubba is a killer that if you could pick and choose which add-ons to keep, that could be really, really incredible, right? But unfortunately he's going to be held back a lot by a few add-ons that make his power a little bit worse. Right, so having the beast marks and the knife scratches, that will make your chainsaw go really, really fast and would be awesome. Having the primer bulb and the spark plug and the ear flesh would let you recharge super, super quickly. You would be able to hit a survivor and then get your power back and maybe maul down multiple survivors. Yeah, you do have the speed limiter, which makes you not insta-down, but because you have the flesh, it's not that big of a deal. If you hit a survivor, you can just refresh and you typically hit them a second time really quickly. Now, the problem comes with the depth gauge rake and these two together and the tuning guide. So the tuning guide reduces your speed by a little bit and turns all of your charges into one, which kind of sucks a little bit. And this also increases your chainsaw charge time a little bit together. And if you compare it to the depth gauge, if you add it to the depth gauge rate, it takes you so long to ready up your chainsaw. Basically, with this combination, yeah, your chainsaw will go for a very long time and it will eventually be pretty fast. But at the start, you are basically so slow at charging up your chainsaw that you might as well just break pallets with your basic spacebar. It would make you really, really awkward in the long distances, and I do feel that even though this killer, with all of these atoms together, he would be really, really scary. In like situations where survivors are grouped up. In the 1v1, if survivors split up, you would really not be that good. Like, I think you would have to pre-grab your chainsaw and do some things, and survivors could just pre-drop pallets and be relatively safe. So I do think that all of these add-ons together would work quite awkwardly. Some of these add-ons also they just don't do a lot. So yeah, you wouldn't benefit a lot from them either. Next up, we have the Trapper. Now, the elephant in the room for the Trapper is that the padded jaws would suck. Yeah, anytime a survivor steps on a trap and they get rescued, they would be completely healthy. Just keep in mind that if they help, like, they will not be able to escape by themselves. If they escape by themselves, because of the Honing Stone, you will be still downed. So that's pretty good. Even though this is making us a little bit worse, almost everything else is actually pretty nice. The most important thing that would make the biggest difference is that you would have all of your traps on you. They would reset themselves. They would make survivors injured, even though people would learn to play around this eventually. And you also can go through them. They also take so long to disarm, and if you rearm them, it also tells you who did it. All of these things together, believe it or not, are a pretty big deal. You would be able to play Trapper as a very, very mean basement defender, and you could also put traps in loops and then walk right through them, and survivors wouldn't really be able to do anything, unless they want to risk getting injured, of course. If they're not injured already. Because with the makeshift wrap, you could go through your own traps. This would actually make the Trapper quite good. Even though it does remove the padded, the padded just removes the initial damage, I do think it would be quite good. Now, I think that if this was the default Trapper, people would evolve. They would understand a couple things. They would understand that, number one, if I travel in pairs, traps are kind of useless. Because if you travel in pairs, the padded jaws and the Honing Stone, if you rescue someone else, they don't go down. So that would be a lot easier, right? And a lot of these things, a lot of these add-ons just don't really do that much under the circumstances. For example, you know, yeah, the darker traps are also nice, but in some maps they make them stick out more. Yeah, it's just really not that incredible. Trapper, at the end of the day, he would change his gameplay quite a bit, but he would still remain a pretty predictable killer. If you stay away from basement and you maybe play in pairs, I think most of the strengths that he's got could be easily outplayed. The extra speed that he gets from this and that, I don't think is that insanely oppressive. Next up, Huntress. If Hunters did not have the iridescent head, honestly, this could be really scary. If all of these add-ons were applied at once, faster cooldown, faster recovery, faster this, faster that, blah, 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 blah. Like, all of this could be really good. However, with the iridescent head, we are limited to one insta-down add-on. Yeah, one insta-down hatchet. Yeah, it would be like faster wind-up, faster recovery, all of that, but just one really limits your abilities. Basically, the moment people hear the lullaby, they would play super careful. They would remember that you can sometimes go undetectable, right? So even though she would be a really scary killer, for people in like lower levels and average players, higher level survivors would just learn to split up, force her to reload. Anytime you miss, it would be really tough. Perks like Dead Hard or anything that can give survivors like an ability to tank a hit would be really strong against you. People would straight up not heal, and in many maps you wouldn't really be that good. It's true that when you miss your hatchet, you would be a normal killer, but compared to some of the other things that we're gonna see later, that's really not that big of a deal. Next up is the nurse. The nurse would really become super awkward, right? She has an add-on that takes that gives her one extra blink, and then one add-on that gives you one extra blink, and one add-on that takes one extra blink. So she would have 2 blinks, but she would be able to move at 110. And if she hits you with her attack, then she becomes a normal speed killer. So she would be like a hybrid M1 old nurse kind of thing with a lot of different like extra abilities. Obviously the duration and the mangle would be pretty good. Although keep in mind, you would also suffer from the limited range and the limited launch. Your launch would be very small, which would suck. The nice thing about this is that it's not that big of a deal when you move at 110, but still, this would be pretty damn awkward. So Nurse would basically be she would still be okay, because the first hit would happen really quickly. But I think people would, obviously when people learn that after one hit she turns into a normal killer for about a minute, she really wouldn't be that hot. Like, it would only really, the thing is, if you take a nurse and you make her worse, it's still fine because she's still a nurse and she has a few nasty add-ons, but yeah, she does go down significantly. Next we have Chucky. Chucky does get a little bit screwed by a couple add-ons that are a little bit uncomfortable. For example, what is it? Yeah, the Silk Pillow makes you have a slower charge of your power, which sucks a little bit. The Hard Hat, yeah, they removed the downside to this. Yeah, they removed the downside to this. This one doesn't have a downside right now, if I remember correctly. Then there's the mirror shards, which lets you see the footprints of survivors, which is kind of distracting. I personally don't like it. So yeah, you have a bunch of add-ons that really just don't do a whole lot. And many of Chucky's add-ons are like 10% or 5%. They're not really a big deal. Some of his best add-ons got nerfed as well recently. So he would honestly not be that crazy strong, in my opinion. And in some ways, it could be a little bit annoying. If you remember all of the little things that your add-ons do, however, it could be somewhat helpful. You would have a lot of like little passive things like the ability to exhaust them and whatnot. Next up, Blight. Blight's kind of weird. First of all, Placebo Tablet would reduce your speed by a lot. Some of the add-ons would kind of make up for it, but not really. The Placebo Tablet would be really bad. You would also have the annoying effect of the 2 brown add-ons. The Monocle gives you like a little light in front of you, which is super unnecessary. And the Compound 7 automatically steers, like, basically steers your character into the right direction. It's super unnecessary. Some of these add-ons really don't do a lot. Summoning Stone, you know, Alchemist Ring, like all of these duration add-ons would be fine. And Blighted Crow and Blighted Ride would make you faster over time. But keep in mind, you're only going to have 3 rushes. Because of the Redstone Flag, you're only going to have 3 rushes. Now, these rushes are going to be... yeah, this, like the Adrenaline Vial is still going to be limited to 3 rushes. So you're going to get the downsides of the Adrenaline Vial, but not the the positive effects, and the turn rate add-ons will help a little bit, but not too much. This would basically be a relatively neutered version of Blight. And the only nice thing is that, yeah, you would have Undetectable, and yeah, you would have auto-reading, but honestly, he doesn't come out on top. It's still a Blight, he would still be okay, but I think he would be quite awkward. It's a little bit hard to imagine what this killer would feel like with all of these things at once. I'll be honest, this is one of the hardest killers to rank. Let me know what you think. Next, the Artist. Oh my god, this killer could be so incredible with if one atom didn't exist. With the egg, we gain 1 egg. With the feather, we'll lose 1 egg. Sorry, we gain 1 bird, and with the feather we lose 1 bird. So basically we still have 3 birds. Anytime we're on cooldown, we are undetectable, which is kind of cool. Many of the add-ons kind of counter each other and cancel themselves out. Like for example, this gives shorter duration and this gives longer duration, right? So they cancel each other out somewhat. But yeah, the nice thing is that a few of the really strong add-ons stack together quite nicely, right? So being able to have like shorter cooldown and longer removal time is pretty nice. Having baby shoes and sever hands at once is amazing. This makes you really dangerous from a distance. This makes you really dangerous from up close. The extra slowdown is nice. The insta-down is quite dangerous. A free severed tongue, I wouldn't say no to that. The extra mangle and hemorrhage, why not, right? All of these things are nice. But then we have the charcoal stick. The charcoal stick is a negative add-on. It's an add-on that is generally just not good. It makes your birds show their aura when you place them, which means that from up close it's much easier to dodge your birds, and a lot of sneaky plays are really, really bad. If survivors pay attention, the upside of this is really not that good. It's basically just a negative add-on in my opinion. I don't think it matters as much. I think this killer would still be okay, mostly because of the baby shoes. Even if survivors know where a bird is, if they get close to them, you would see their aura and be able to shoot on reaction. So overall, she would play a bit different, and she would rely more on the stealth and maybe some cheeky insta-down. She would be okay, but she would definitely need to be played a little bit different. Next up is Wraith. Man, Wraith has one negative thing, and then everything else is honestly really, really fun. Negative thing is that the beast would make us not have any stealth. We would not have any, the ability to lose our terror radius, right? Which would kind of suck. The Wraith is overall a stealth tactical killer. So you remove the stealth, we are left with tactics. That being said, when you uncloak, you would have a few seconds thanks to the ghost where you would be undetectable. So that would be kind of nice, I guess. And with the silent thing, that could be all right. So you would need to play a bit differently. Now, let's get to the fun part. Having 3 Swift Hunts would be incredible. Having 3 Windstorms all stacked together would be incredible. Having both Shadow Dancers would be amazing. Also being able to inflict Mango, Blindness, and all of these things at once would be good. Even the 2 Blinks would be quite noticeable. So all of these things together, and add the fact that you see people's auras, add the fact that you see the progress of generators, you would be able to be a very tactical killer. Instead of relying so much on stealth, you would mostly just be area and gen control, and you would not need any real info perks. You would be able to go all crazy on regression, and I think that would make Wraith different, but not necessarily much worse. This is another killer that also would change a lot, right? So with the Engineer's Fang, our chain instantly damages a survivor if they're healthy, but we lose one of the 2 additional chains. And with the meme add-on, the Bent Nail, we also lose the other chain. That sucks. That means that now when we use our chain, we only have 1. So that would suck. Yeah, that 1 chain would be enhanced by the Greasy Black Lens, and it would be enhanced by the Impaling Wire. So this would help you in chase a little bit, but it would still suck. Basically, in chase, you would be not a very good killer once the survivor is injured. But let's now look at the positives, right? We have the Chatter's Tooth, and I think the idea with this add-on would be, obviously, do not pick up the box, just let it be passively on the ground, right? And harass survivors. And since they don't see it with Iridescent Lemon box for a little while, just play very passively, right? Injure everyone and then let the thing happen. Some of these bottom add-ons really don't make such a big difference, but with both Frank's Heart and flickering television, sorry, you would be able to put your chain so far that you could basically make sure that everyone is injured at any given time. And then with a little bit of stealth and perks to complement that, you could honestly do quite a bit of damage. You would need to really play him differently and defects the box passively without picking it up. But I do think that this would be still quite strong, and against average survivors it would be really annoying. You would need to get really good at sniping people with Engineer's Fang though. Next, Pyramid Head. This is a killer that honestly just basically doesn't change. All of these add-ons at the bottom, you could put them all together and they would basically not do anything together. They are just overall really bad. Having 3 range add-ons is a little bit better, but nothing insane. Having 3 or 4.5 recovery add-ons, that's all okay. The Mangle, yeah, okay, that's fine. He would just be the same, honestly. I'm pretty sure that if you played against this, you might not even notice. It really wouldn't be too crazy. Being able to, you know, to every now and then use the stealth from the Obsidian Goblet, or every now and then get the information from the Iridescent Seal, that could be okay, but he really doesn't get that much better at all. He doesn't get worse, which is a nice thing, I guess, but he doesn't get that much better. Ghostface is another killer that doesn't get that much better. Yeah, he has some nice abilities, and he would be almost immune to being broken out of stealth by people on the ground and people on the hook, which is kind of sweet. He also has 2 ways of inflicting exhaustion, which is a nice deal. Base kit drop like Knife Sheath, which gives you a bit of an oomph. A little bit of info guaranteed from the security camera. So on some maps, you would really appreciate the ability to block gens with driver's license. All these things are nice. The add-ons at the bottom, they just don't do a whole lot. And this add-on technically is it brings a downside, because sometimes you want to miss an attack on purpose to lose your stealth. So yeah, overall he gets a little bit better, but nothing super crazy. You have 1 bad chase, a couple bad minutes at the start, and you would still lose, and you wouldn't have any incredible tool to help you come back, especially in some maps that aren't favorable. Wesker. Wesker is a strong killer. He's going to be fine regardless, but many of these add-ons either cancel each other out or are just not that good, right? So for example, the Unicorn Medallion, good add-on, but when you combine it with the RPD shoulder walkie, they basically are opposites. They pretty much, not exactly, but they pretty much cancel each other out. So basically just 2 add-ons just disappear. And then we have similar things with the Chalice and the Lion Medallion. These 2 add-ons pretty much cancel each other out, which kind of sucks. Then we have a couple add-ons that give us stealth and information on survivors when they gain max infection, which is awesome. They're gonna do it a bit more consistently with the BCD, that's nice. But then all of these add-ons, they basically do nothing. So yeah. Other than the really nice Eerie Vial at the start, this Wesker would barely feel any different. I think you could play against a Wesker with all these add-ons and many people wouldn't even realize. You could go a whole game and not even realize. No joke. It really wouldn't be that crazy at all. Next up, Demo. Now, one thing about this killer that would be pretty nice is that if you have all of the add-ons that give you undetectable altogether, the Red Moss, the Vermilion Webcap, and the Violet, like he would be stealthy for how long? Let's see, it's like 3.5, and then this is like 3 or something, and this is like, yeah, you would be undetectable for a very long time, maybe about 20 seconds when coming out of a portal. That would be pretty cool. And having all of the portal detection and stuff, that would be pretty nice. Having the art of reading from Lepros Lecum would be pretty nice, because you have all of the portal speeds. They would feel pretty good. And then you also have Barb's Glasses and Black Heart, which everyone appreciates having, right? It's true that the Rotten Pumpkin would make your portals disappear, but you place them faster too, so it wouldn't be a huge deal. Overall, this is a killer that gets a little bit better with all of these add-ons, but many of these add-ons are just so mild, and they're so situational. You could go a whole game where your portals don't play much of an effect at all. So, or you don't have enough time to place meaningful portals, so who even cares? It's just, yeah, he wouldn't, a bit like Wesker, he really wouldn't get that much better, in my opinion. Next, we have Alien. Some of these add-ons are generally really mediocre, and they come into play once or twice per game, especially the ones at the bottom. Now, being able to have 2 protection add-ons to make sure that you don't get knocked out is pretty nice. Having the fast bolt and the information from this, and these are 3 add-ons that give information. Well, 4 add-ons that give information. That's honestly amazing. It would make this killer into a very well-rounded, you know, monster, but he still would be Alien. You know what I mean? Like, he would still be the same Xenomorph. It doesn't give him crazy insta-down, crazy recovery. Like, it doesn't do anything super insane as some of the other killers that we're gonna see later. So it would just make the current Xenomorph that we have right now, make it a tiny bit stronger, in my opinion. Especially when you consider that some of these add-ons just don't do that much. But yeah, no, definitely a lot of information. And you would definitely appreciate having like the automatically self-breaking turrets and the slightly faster this and that. It would be nice. But yeah, nothing really to write home about, in my opinion. Especially when survivors learned that, okay, after popping a gen, we need to be a bit careful. If we put turrets, he's gonna see them. You know, especially after survivors learn about what each other add-on does and they adapted to this, I don't think this killer would be that insane. Next up, Unknown. Honestly, another killer that doesn't really get that crazy. So the Unknown would gain like 3 or so different add-ons that would make you put your hallucinations faster. This makes them happen faster. This makes them happen faster. This makes them... No, sorry. There's another one. I mean, this technically makes them happen faster at the start, right? So... yeah, I mean, you would put hallucinations really fast. You would have the downsides of this and this, which is okay, and you would appreciate having the utility of the blurry photo to teleport faster, the slightly faster teleport from this, the ability to reset your own things if you don't like them. All of that would be nice. But then you have a lot of add-ons that frankly just don't do a lot. They just don't do a lot. They exhaust, they apply blindness, but whatever. You would have the ability to break survivors and be a little bit faster at teleporting, but not that big of a deal. And you are also forced to use the discarded mail carton, which makes your bow bouncier, and you can't take this off, right? According to our rules. So you would need to play this killer completely different and relearn the entire thing. Yeah. If survivors are more diligent at taking care of hallucinations, I don't think this killer gains that much. He's still strong, though, and having the effects of these two, which makes them all weaken at the start and weaken when they pop a gen, would be nice. Keep in mind that survivors would learn to be really careful at the start, and they would also learn to not pop gens in a group. If there's 3 survivors on a gen, 2 of them would let go, and then only 1 would pop it. And that way they would avoid the effect of vanishing box to some degree. So they would learn to do that more so than they do now. Next up, Nemesis. Okay, so we have a lot of add-ons to increase infection, but they still don't make that much of a difference. If you kill 1 zombie, you don't go into tier 2. You would still need to hit either 2 zombies or 1 or 2 survivors, right? So yeah, none of that would really make that big of a difference. The extra detection and all of the extra speed zombie add-ons would be pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie. If you have right now, you can run only up to 2, right? But we have like 4 add-ons that make zombies faster. We have the Mikalai, the intestine. We have the ink ribbon, and I guess temporarily you also have the stars badge. All of these together would make zombies go so fast, it would be really funny. But guess what? They're still zombies. People can still blind them. People can still kill them with pallets. Yeah, they would regenerate faster, but yeah, zombies, no matter how good they are still quite a passive thing that survivors can play against in a number of ways. All of the little effects, like making them oblivious or this garbage, they are not that big of a deal, honestly. I honestly think that if you give all of these zombie add-ons and utility add-ons like this and that, it would make Nemesis into a decent killer, especially at like average and low levels, because the zombies can really disrupt survivors there. But I don't think they would be that insane. I think compared to the current Nemesis you have right now, some matches could play out very, very, very similar. The little bit of stealth and the little bit of instant that comes here and there would also be very, very situational and not something that comes into play every single match. Dracula, we have a killer here that is quite restrained. Some of his add-ons are 10% this, 10% that. I don't think he gets that crazy. Many of the add-ons as well only just come down in like specific situations, like Alucard Shield in the endgame, right? This would no longer be a surprise. People would expect it. Overall, what would be the most amazing thing? I mean, I think the most amazing thing about having all the add-ons is that the wolf form would become really, really strong. With wolf form, you would have extra detection range, more utility from having a smaller turret radius, and bigger drop rate and bigger recovery from these two, like the doll and the Force of Echo. So wolf would become really, really, really decent. you would get all of the small buffs to bad, which is always helpful. All of the little brown add-ons that have nice effects would stack together. And overall, it would be pretty nice. Now, there's one slight downside that you would have to eat, and it is the fact that your charge would be a little bit slower. This is an uncomfortable thing. I don't like the fact that your Hellfire is slower, but we also need to remember that it would have slightly better tracking, which kind of makes up for it, and you have a lot of other advantages. Overall, it would be pretty good. Dracula is pretty good. This would make him a little bit better, but not that much better, because all of these add-ons, honestly, are pretty restrained, especially now that they've nerfed Medusa hair and it's not as insane as it used to be. Next up, Doctor. This might be one of those killers that people think would be absolutely insane, but you'd be surprised. So, for example, there are 4 add-ons that make survivors see illusory palettes, right? Which is Order, Order 2, Order 3, and Eerie King. And guess what? All of them together, they don't really stack, right? They're like all of the add-ons that have a main and a side effect. The side effect doesn't stack. So seeing the red stem behind you, there's 4 add-ons that do that, they don't stack. Seeing a distant terror radius, that doesn't stack. Seeing the fake palettes, it doesn't stack. And so on and so forth, right? So, believe it or not, all of these add-ons put together, they are not as insane as they might sound. Now, one thing that would be pretty phenomenal, though, is you have the Iridescent Queen, which is awesome. You have 3 disciplines stacked together, which means that your shocks are super, super quick. That would be quite insane to see. You also have a very small terror radius outside of when you're in cooldown, very big terror radius when you're not in cooldown, so that's ideal. And believe it or not, the range is interesting, right? Because you would be your shocking radius would become a circle, but when you have the scrape tape and the interview tape together, they actually combine. I'll show you what it looks like on screen. It actually is not too bad. And with 3 range add-ons, this shape that you're seeing would become really, really big, and you would have an immense range. So all of this together, if you have a build that relies on pushing people off gens and disrupting them and stalling them, it would be really, really, really oppressive. Even though it wouldn't be as crazy because of the aforementioned fact that many of these add-ons don't really stack together effectively. The main, the main file add-ons that the Doctor has. Next up, Knight. Now, Knight has a lot of add-ons that honestly are just not that good. But the reason why they're not that good is because they take another add-on slot that a much more necessary add-on is taken, right? When you actually have them all together, they start to be quite nice. So for example, having this add-on that reduces the cooldown, and this add-on that reduces the cooldown, and this add-on that reduces the cooldown, you don't necessarily want these add-ons in your normal 2 add-on selection, but now that you have them for free, you will take them. These add-ons that provide utility for each guard, they're actually pretty good now, because you're not sacrificing anything for them. You can have the Call to Arms, the Dried Horse Meat, and also still have the Map of the Realm. You still have the ability thanks to the company banner, you can catch survivors in the exit, which is predictable because they would learn, but still, you can still use it to block windows, so you will have that as well. You have the Knight's Contract, which makes a guard stay longer, and all of these little side effects like Mangle and Hemorrhage, and importantly, you also have the effect to be undetectable. So all of these together is actually pretty amazing, because you have longer hunts, bigger detection, bigger range to set them. You're undetectable the whole time. You also give them Oblivious from time to time. Yeah, like, it's actually, you make them blind when the chase starts. Like, all of these together would actually be quite nasty in my opinion. And it's one of the few killers so far where almost all of the add-ons add something and they don't detract anything. There's almost nothing negative here. You could argue that this is a slight negative, but honestly, since you have the Map of the Realm, the negative of this add-on is really not that big of a deal. Not too bad. The Knight would have a big fat W. Vecna. Okay, so Vecna would have some upsides and some downsides. You would not have the ability to raise pallets. You would only have the ability to block them or break them. That would suck. But almost everything else gets really, 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 really nice. Your ball would be bigger. Your ball would make them exhausted. You would have the ability to see them from time to time. You would also have the advantage of making some of the chests turn into minutes. You would have shorter cooldowns from these couple add-ons. Don't mind the steel, this is a little bit outdated. And I think the nicest part is that you get the Iridescent Book of Bile Darkness, which lets you block windows when you fly over them. And you get 2 skeletons that are lower on the closer to the level ground, so they cannot be crouched. And because you have the Ornate Horn, you would have 3 of them. So you would have like a 3 hatchet that goes at like leg level that is undodgeable. If you learn to play around this, I think Vecna would be really, really, really scary. And then having some of the extra little add-ons and stuff, these add-ons that don't do a lot all together would actually be pretty damn nice. He would also have Mangled as a basic thing on all of his attacks as long as survivors are using items. So all of this I think is pretty damn good. And if you miss, the Lantern of Revealing also shows you the auras of survivors that you barely miss, which can be helpful as well. I think all of this together would change him a little bit, but could make him quite fearsome if you take the time to learn how to play Vecna. Honestly, Deathslinger, wow, this would be really, really fun. Deathslinger is a killer that is very, very limited by the 2 add-on thing. But if you could make 3 or 4 or all 20, oh my god, he actually gets quite a few things. So the first thing to get out of the way, yeah, he has a meme add-on called the Rickety Chain that makes the chain break faster. It is slightly, and I mean slightly, offset by the prison chain. But this is not a big deal. This is not a big deal. Yeah, the chain breaks a little bit faster, but everything else is quite positive. So we have add-ons here that don't do a lot, but they also are negative. And then we have 2 add-ons that give him a smaller terror radius. Both of them together is actually really, really strong. It makes him quite stealthy. And because you have the 2 add-ons that make you faster while holding your gun, guess what? You can actually move your gun, hold your gun and move really fast. And most importantly, you insta-down if you shoot people from afar.
이 꽃이 마음에 드는 거야? 이 꽃이 마음에 드는 거야? 이 꽃이 마음에 드는 거야?
드는 거야? 이 꽃이 마음에 드는 거야?
which is huge. But if you don't insta down, you have 2 reload add-ons and the cigar and the tobacco so that you can recover really, really quickly. So this would make this killer into a really, really, really scary 1v1 and stealth / insta down killer. Not too bad at all. Depending on the map, I think you could do really, really well. The fact that you also have a little bit of slowdown here and there that applies and 2 add-ons for miss would make him feel really, really smooth as well. Not bad. And mangled. Yeah, no matter what, you're gonna apply mangled every single time. That's not too bad. All of these add-ons, I would say, work together quite well to basically cover every situation. That Slinger would be doing pretty good. He would be eating quite well. Next up, we have the Spirit. Now, the negative thing about the Spirit, she has a few add-ons at the bottom that basically do nothing. They are very, very, very bad. Right? And one add-on that gives her insane duration but reduces her speed by 15%, which is a pretty significant deal. Now, don't worry too much about the speed, because you're gonna make that speed back with the 3 add-ons that increase the speed. They are this, and that. Right? So the speed would be, I think, a little bit higher than, not as high as it could be, but it would be higher than normal. Now, the big deal is that because of the Mother Ring and the Cherry Blossom, you will not see scratch marks. You will literally never see scratch marks. That kind of sucks. That sucks a little. So our speed is a little bit lower than it could be, and we don't see scratch marks. That sucks. But almost everything else is really, really good. We have 2 activation add-ons, which is amazing. 3 recovery add-ons, which would be incredible. I want to say 4. Is it 4 duration add-ons? Or is it 3 duration add-ons? Let me see. Let me count real quick. This is 1 duration. Yeah. 1 duration add-on. Yeah. She would have 3 duration add-ons. One of them a purple that lasts a long time. So basically, the Spirit would not be able to play in the same way as before following scratch marks, but what she gains would be pretty insane. She would have an insane duration, pretty high speed, and the ability to recover her power anytime she gets stunned and anytime she breaks a breakable wall. So you could use your power to go across the entire map, break one breakable wall in the main building or whatever, and get your power back immediately. And even though you don't get scratch marks, the Dry Cherry Blossom would highlight people with Killer Instinct, which is a pretty nice replacement. And honestly, even if you don't have that, just having the double activation is so good. Yeah, this killer, she would need to be played a bit differently, but if you were a really good spirit and you adapted to the new circumstances, she would be quite rough. Now, keep in mind that because the Cherry Blossom would be 100% on all the time, survivors would not do the same mind games as before. You're never going to catch a survivor, crouching and staying in place. They're always going to know that they have to run away from you. And same goes for Wakizashi Saya. Since they know that you can teleport back, they're never going to do something stupid, right? So yeah, you would remove a bit of the element of surprise on some of these add-ons, but still. The pig. Ooh, the pig gets really, really interesting. So, with this add-on, you lose 2 of your traps. That sucks. But with this add-on and this add-on, you gain 2 of your traps. That's pretty good. So you're now basically back to 4 traps. And with this add-on, all of the traps are placed on survivors' heads. And you start with 0. This is interesting. This actually is one of the killers that I spend the most time thinking about. Let me tell you, at the start, this would be super chaotic in some maps. Keep in mind, every survivor starts with a trap on their head, and they would be blind, they would be exhausted. If you hit them, they would have mangled and hemorrhage. If you interrupt them on a box and they miss a skill check, they would become injured. If they're already injured, they would go into deep wound. If that happens somehow. Believe it or not, this can happen. This is not even a crazy idea. This can totally happen. They also have a slightly shorter timer than usual. Probably not gonna matter because they're not gonna activate a Jund, right? And they will take quite a bit longer to remove them, which would probably suck. Plus, you have all of the add-ons to make your ambush better, and you have auto ring during ambush. So you basically have a killer that has an insane amount of slowdown at the start, and then later also has some nice properties to her ambush and chase, right? I think this could be huge if you obviously survivors would learn to try to play around this at the start, but that doesn't prepare them for the fact that if they go on certain maps, it's really hard to know where the boxes are with this add-on, right? And you as a killer can have a lot of things going on at the start. So if you had like this amount of pressure at the start, and then you brought some totems and some side objectives, and you played the start really, really mean, oh my god, this could be like the #1 most annoying, insane killer against like medium level survivors. Against higher level survivors, if they are ready to play it very, very slow, yeah, even with all of the add-ons on, your chases are incredible, so they could beat you that way. But still, I think she would get quite a boost. If you have a good early game and have a build around that, she would be honestly quite mean. Right, here we have the Houndmaster. I will have a slightly different picture because we don't have the same format. The Houndmaster is a strong killer, and most of her add-ons just make her a little bit better. She would have a little bit of everything. When she sends out her dog, she would become undetectable. Anytime she hound sends people, she would have a boost of break-in, and then a lot of other effects to enhance the hound sense duration and see auras afterwards. You would apply mangle, you would have all the effects to make your dog faster and reach further. Not a super crazy, effect at any point here and there, but all of these things together are pretty nice. The auto reading, the screaming can be really, really nasty as well if you have some kind of hex build or anything can be interrupted, right? Like them on Switch, you can shoo them off generators. They don't make this killer absolutely the most insane, but because her base kit is so good and she basically has no downsides, even though there are some add-ons that are a little bit subpar, I overall think that she would be pretty strong. Next, Dredge. Oh my god, this is another killer that it's incredible to think how much she would get out of all of these add-ons. Now, let's just address some of the add-ons at the bottom. These add-ons like this, all of these add-ons make the Nightfall happen faster. And most of the times, they're not very good because, they take up one add-on slot. But all of them together would be quite nice. This killer would start out in Nightfall. In the endgame, it would go automatically into Nightfall. And in between, the Nightfall would happen very, very frequently. because anything he does makes Nightfall faster. Every hit, every time he's teleporting, every time he hooks, all of these things would add to Nightfall really, really quickly, right? And that would be pretty oppressive for survivors, especially newer survivors. All of these things would be pretty good. Outside of Nightfall, he would have a 10-second cooldown. In Nightfall, he would have a 1.5-second cooldown, which would be really, really oppressive. If he ever needs to find a survivor, he has 4 teleports. And at the end of the 4 teleports, he would get auto reading from lavalier microphones, so he could, you know, he could use Noid and perks to hunt down survivors very effectively. He would also have a lot of information. Outside of Nightfall, he could use Follower's Cowl to find people around him. Anytime you lock a locker, he's gonna see your aura. Anytime a locker is locked, he's gonna know with the caffeine tablets. At the end of a Nightfall, you can be insta-down, which is a little bit scary. He also blocks windows when he teleports in Nightfall. Not very good, but I mean, it's free, so you might as well. And what else? Anything remarkable? There is an add-on that is kind of a downgrade, but you can learn to play around this, so it's not a big deal. It just changes the direction that you're looking at when you teleport. So yeah, you would have all of that. You would also inflict all kinds of status effects during Nightfall on healthy survivors. And you also have, like, come on, man. You also have the side effects of, like, exhausting survivors when they step into your remnant, making all the locks break into the endgame. This would give you so much freedom to have, like, a super oppressive early game and be still really strong in the late game with perks like Noid and stuff. I think all of this would be pretty strong. At the end of the day, it's still a dredge. He cannot be in 2 places at once, right? But damn, with all of this, he pretty much can. Next up, we are now headed into the really, really, really strong killers. Killers that get really good with all of this. Right, so we have an annoying add-on that makes you have like a little marker where you're gonna hit. This isn't super good. And honestly, 5 or 6 add-ons here that are really not super good. Twins does not become super insane with these add-ons. But then things start to get a little bit crazy, right? So we have 2 add-ons to increase the Victor range, which is really, really nice. The ability to become stealthy with Victor, which is a nice plus, and the ability to make survivors oblivious around this massive range, which can be pretty good in some maps. All of this is okay, it's just utility here and there. Then we have 2 add-ons to make Victor transitions faster. 1 add-on to make it a bit harder to have kicked. The add-on that makes survivors insta-downable if they mess up. And here's where it gets really, really, really good. You would be able to use the Toy Sword, which is useful, both add-ons that make Victor speedier, the add-on to make them drop their items, and the really, really strong Silencing Cloth stealth add-on that makes Charlotte stealthy when Victor is, you know, swapped. All of this on a killer as good as Twins would be insane. Having... she doesn't gain as much utility as, say, the Pig, but all of this together would be so unbelievably oppressive. You have a Victor that has insane detection, insane speed, harder to kick, all kinds of downsides if you remove him. 2 major downsides if you kick him, which is out of read and possibly being insta-down. And on a killer that's already really, really oppressive, I think this would make Twins probably one of the strongest killers in the game, which they already are, but even more so. Next up, Oni. A little bit boring, nothing super... He doesn't get any crazy new utility, but much like Twins, Oni would go from a killer that's strong to a killer that's strong with all of his best add-ons combined. Right, so we have some add-ons at the bottom that wouldn't make a huge difference. The passive gain is not crazy. These add-ons make your orbs easier to see and easier to suck out, not too bad. But then we get pretty crazy. We have 2 add-ons now that speed up our transition into the demon mode. An add-on that decreases the penalty, okay. Add this to 3 duration add-ons. We have 1 duration add-on, 2 duration add-ons, 3 duration add-ons. All of these add-ons together means that this guy can be in demon mode for a very long time, and each down has a very, very small penalty to it. He also has the ability to see people anytime they are in contact with their own blood, which does have a slight downside, but it's overall a really, really good deal. He also has the occasional ability to bonk into an area and find people around him. He has 2 add-ons to be faster, where are they? The Talisman and the Akito's Crutch, which on the hands of high-level players would be insanely oppressive, and also benefits from the Scalp Top Knot, which would make him charge faster. And every time he injures a survivor, he also has both of the add-ons that increase the blood. So basically, if he hits you and you vault a window or vault a pallet or do any action or run for a little bit, you're gonna leave so much blood behind you. He's gonna be able to get into tier up into his demon form almost right away. all of these add-ons here stack so unbelievably well. They basically don't have any negative downsides. They would make this killer really, 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 really powerful. But maybe not as powerful as the Singularity. So, Singularity has a lot of add-ons, let's be honest, that don't do a whole lot, right? But none of these add-ons do anything bad per se. In fact, some of them increasing the range at which people infect each other can actually be pretty good if they're combined together on top of all the other things we do, right? So keep in mind that right off the bat, we get two combinations of add-ons that are really, really incredible. We made a video recently explaining why the Cremated Remains and the Denied Requisition Form, why these two add-ons are super, super good together. But you get that, and you get the faster teleport, and you get the longer overclock, and you get the faster, the longer range on the Viopod cameras, and you get 2 extra Viopods, and you get the ability to put them into deep wound to tunnel them easier here and there, and you get the faster recovery, and they scream and reveal themselves, and they become exhausted, and you see their aura, and you see their aura, and you have a smaller terrorist sometimes. Do you understand? Like, all of these things on a killer that is already as good as Singularity, all together, none of them have a bad synergy. All of them would be really, really damn insane. At any given point, you would be suffering from like 65 different status effects, and it would be one of the most evil combinations so far. And honestly, when I put it like that, it makes me think maybe he should have been even higher. Next up is Trickster. Trickster would have such a field day. It would be so fun to play this version of Trickster. It really makes me want to have a game mode like this. All right, so right off the bat, a few add-ons that aren't super, super big. So yeah, the add-ons to increase your combo, they basically do nothing. Feel free to go on my website, ostaba.com/add-ons, if you want to know this carefully. They basically are really, really bad. The add-ons that increase the laceration time so that survivors lose their knife damage a bit slower, they're not a big deal, right? The faster reload, who cares? But then things start to get pretty crazy. So right off the bat, we have two add-ons that make us hold our knives and lose less speed, right? The Cage Heart Shoes and the Killing Parkours. Both of them together would be a nice little boost to an already fast killer that's now 115. We then have two add-ons to increase our ammo on a killer that already does pretty well with ammo. Okay, that's pretty good. Then we have 3 utility add-ons to basically be ready in almost any situation, right? We have the ability to hit survivors with explosive knives, which can let us hit them around corners sometimes. The ability to bounce our blades, which can be really good in some tiles, especially when people know how to use them. And the ability to go through survivors with your knives and hit multiple of them. Now this isn't super, these add-ons aren't super good because they're very situational, right? Especially these two, they're very situational, and using an add-on slot for them feels pretty bad. But having them for free, that means you're prepared for anything. Survivors are grouping up and trying to come out of basement, you're gonna destroy them. Survivors are in a part that has like straight walls, you can hit them around with trick blades very consistently, and you can spam a lot because you have extra duration, right? And then at some point you're gonna get main event, and main event is gonna be absolutely insane, right? When you hit them with main event, you're gonna see their aura. When they're one knife away from being damaged, you're gonna see their aura as well. You have two add-ons that are going to make main event longer. The Lucky Blade, Lucky Blade and Inferno Wires, right? And then another two add-ons that are also going to make it longer. The Waiting For You Watch and the Tequila Moonrock. Basically, you're going to have a main event that lasts a very long time, and every single time you hit a knife, it will go up. And it will be infinite. So anytime you have a survivor that does not have immediate safety, they will go down. And if there's multiple survivors, you can go crazy on them. Keep in mind that you have a faster throw rate in and out of main event with Memento Blades as well. All of this together would make Trickster not the top killer in the game, but it would be such a massive jump in utility. He would suddenly go from having to choose 1 or 2 playstyles into being able to do everything. He would be able to do everything. He would be able, he would have the big main event, the auto reading here and there, the ability to go through survivors, the ability to hit around corners, just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And perhaps the killer that would go the hardest with all of her add-ons would be the Plague. Now, right off the bat, some of our add-ons wouldn't do anything, right? Because she would be forced to have the meme add-on, Tablet Fragment, she would not be able to infect people directly. So the infection add-ons would not be very good. But then you realize what would begin to happen, and it's actually really, really scary. So right off the bat, we would have 6 fountains, right? Out of those fountains, 2 of them would disappear because of the prophylactic amulet. So we would have 4 fountains. One of them is One of them is infected by default, and then 2 of them are going to be infected by the apples. And then one of the apples is going to spawn 2 fountains, 1 more fountain. So that means that at the start of the game, survivors only have 2 fountains to cleanse. And if they cleanse, they give you your power. And your power lasts, let me see, normally it's 60 seconds. With this add-on, it's minus 20, I think. Yes, minus 20. But because we have the Devotee's Amulet, it is a minute again. And with the other add-on, the Exorcist Amulet, it's... So basically, you have 70 seconds of power. If they over-cleanse, you have 70 seconds. Every time they pop a gen, you have 70 seconds. And anytime you pick up one of your fountains, you have 70 seconds of power. That is crazy. And keep in mind that when you don't have your power, you can spit on generators, and they're going to last forever. They're literally going to last forever. They're going to be infected for 30... 20, and I think this is 30 or 25 seconds as well. It also has an extender. And whenever they touch something infected, because of the effects of Prayer, Tablet Fragment, and the Severed Toe, they will become infected extremely, extremely quickly. I'm gonna have a video on screen right now showing you how quickly you would become infected with these 2 add-ons. Now imagine everything else on top, right? It would be really, really crazy. You would also have the slight improvement of the faster throw, the faster puke speed, and also a little bit of info. Anytime they cleanse, you would see their auras, or anytime you pick up, you would have people scream. All of this together would be insane. Basically, the player could start the game, go to one of her 3 fountains at the start, pick up the fountain, people would scream, you don't even need info perks, and then go and start unleashing chaos. And with perks like Tinker, Deadlock, and whatnot, you are basically guaranteed to have entire minutes and minutes of having your red puke, which can do a lot of damage. Oh, I also didn't mention it, but throughout the whole thing, anytime survivors are fully infected, they would have their aura occasionally shown to you as well. Yeah, the Plague is already a killer that gets really massively boosted by add-ons, and if you could have all of them together, I think she could be... I don't know if she would be the strongest killer in the game, but I think she's the one that would gain the biggest amount of perks and advantages. You let me know if you think I missed anything critical. I realize going through this that there's a lot of little angles I might have not considered, and I hope this was a fun little thought experiment to watch. Bye-bye. See you later.
見とっつきにくそうだけど、みんなの好き嫌いをちゃんと覚えてるもんね。実はすっごく優しかったり。
内なる声に応え、恐れず進む。心の向くまま。広がきパワーで。嵐に立ち向かい、そして打ち勝つ。カームシティシリーズ。
星空よ、命を宿す優しき母、火を飲み込む厳格な父、かの星空を仰ぎ、母の輝く慈悲と父の暗き残忍さ。火を飲む父が決して天にいないとしても、星空よ、命を宿す優しき母、火を飲み込む厳格な